with the great and powerful Zilla. Today I'm going to be talking about this beast right here. This is the Tier 9 French tank destroyer, the AMX 50 Foch. Now, the Foch was actually built. One was built, alright, as a prototype. Back in the late 1940s and early 1950s, the French were desperate to develop their own tanks. They had just recovered from World War II, and the French looked around and they said, well, what can we do? So the French said, well, you know what, the Germans pretty much kicked our butts, and the way they did it was they had a combination of tanks and tank destroyers. Now, aside from some other unique design features that the French implemented into their tank design, they pretty much copied what the Germans had. If you look at the suspension of the Foch here, and you look at it, you'll see that it's almost precisely the same as a Panther or a Tiger. The interleaved road wheels, which they really didn't need. The Germans did it because they didn't have the right rubber for the tires on the road wheels. The French didn't have that problem. They had plenty of supplies. So in the 1950s, they built this, and then actually in 1950, along with the designs for the AMX 50 tank. So the chassis became ubiquitous. The chassis became universal. If you look at the top of the engine deck, it's almost exactly like a Panther and a Tiger. So the French copied a lot from the Germans, which is not a bad thing to do, you know, at the time. And then this project was abandoned in about 1955, thereabouts. They figured they didn't need it, and the reason they didn't need it was the United States went into the Korean War with the M47 patent. They found the M47 patent to be lacking, so they switched over to the M48, which was a far more advanced design, and they gave the M47, all of them, to their allies. So the French ended up with tons of these M47 tanks, and they didn't need the AMX 50 project anymore, and they went about their business. Now, one thing I will mention is that this is one of a whole series of vehicles that were designed and were called the AMX 50. The idea being to have tanks around 50 tons, which was shocking at the time, but they did that. So they had tanks with oscillating turrets, they had anti-aircraft vehicles, they had all kinds of these designs around the central hull. All right, and this was one of them. So what do we got in the game? Well, we got a vehicle with an auto-loading 120 millimeter gun. It holds 4 rounds in a clip. It can penetrate pretty much anything at once. The penetration on this gun is with regular rounds, you're talking 257 millimeters. Okay, so pretty much anything it wants to penetrate, it's going to penetrate. If you press the 2 key and buy special ammunition for it, you're in good shape. It's pretty zippy. Its armor is not that great. From the front, of course, with that angle and whatnot, you're pretty good shape, except for the lowest glasses, but that's true on any tank. From the sides, you've got this big flat slab, all right, and of course this rangefinder here is also a weak spot, along with this little turret right here, okay, but it really doesn't have a lot of armor. 180 at the front, 70 on the side, 40 at the rear, okay. So you don't want to get, this is not going to hold a choke point. This is not going to hold a position for very long. You've got 4 shots, and then there's a long reload on its gun. So let's see, rate of fire 6 rounds a minute. So your reload is going to be 31 seconds, okay, to get 4 rounds in the clip. All right, so you go boom, 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 and then you got to wait 30 seconds to reload. Doesn't take that long, but I mean, in a game where seconds count, that can make a big difference. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be a relatively short video today. I'm going to take this out onto a battle and show you what it can do. I'm also going to demonstrate what kind of lag I'm facing here after the tornadoes we had last night. Don't worry, everything's safe and sound. Yeah, we'll take it out on a battlefield and we'll see what it can do. This is not a bad tank destroyer. It's actually pretty fun. I think you'd enjoy it if you manage to work your way up the French tech tree to Tier 9 and get the Foch. I think you would enjoy it. Okay, so we'll meet you on the battlefield. Okay, we managed to get ourselves onto Siegfried Line, and we are defending. This is an assault, so they have to come to us, which is almost custom made for a tank destroyer, any tank destroyer. And here I'm sitting by a US Tier 10 tank destroyer. I believe that's the E3, T110, E5, E3, whatever. I don't know. It's hard for me to remember. Anyway, on my Foch here, I have a tremendous amount of lag. As you can see, my ping is very high. So I'm going to be driving around kind of like a drunk driver. Don't drink and drive, right? For a little bit, and then I'm going to find a position where I can do something useful. So the first thing I do is I look at the city and I say, okay, where can I get an angle where I'm A, already safe, and B, can lay some fire down on any enemy who happens to poke their nose out where it doesn't belong. And as I drive into buildings and try and control this thing, yeah, I apologize sincerely, folks, for the lag. It just can't be helped. But I had to get a tank video out. I hadn't done a tank video in so long, you know, so... Hey, the good news is, right after I'm done making this video, I get to go out and pick up trees that have fallen down in my yard. But anyway, I'm looking over this ridge line right here, and there is a enemy scout tank that is causing us some issues over here on this side, but he's going to get impatient. So I'm just looking for him to poke that ridge, and the enemy team's not stupid. They know, don't poke the ridge. They know, or at least they suspect, that there are tank destroyers lined up on this ridge back here that are waiting to pick them off the moment they come up. But what happens is, this, I believe that's a German scout tank, comes up, he tries to engage our scout tank, the LT-100, I think it is, and our artillery takes a shot and takes him out, but in the process he stuns our light tank. It's a small price to pay to get rid of one of those RU-251s. I believe that's the designation. But I just, you know, decided, I said, I'm looking at the mini-map, I said, you know, I'm not really doing anything useful over here, so I'm going to go ahead and over here, and I'm going to see what I can shoot at over here. And as I run into buildings. And this is pure lag, folks. And again, I apologize 110%. So I'm going to move up. And some of you have made comments and said, how can you play with that kind of lag? Well, I would counter that with a question of my own. How can you lose to me with this kind of lag? I mean, if you lose to me and I've got this kind of lag, you must be in sad shape yourself. So the first thing I do is I look to my right and I look around that corner, see what's there, if anything's going to hit me in the flank, and it's not. And here is a tank that's really oblivious to what I'm doing. And he suddenly realizes that, oh crap, there's a Foch on my side, and I'm just pumping these rounds into him, and good game. You know, didn't really even have to aim with this gun at 120 millimeters. But now I got to wait 30 seconds or so for that tank clip to reload. So I'm going to make myself a little bit scarce. I'm going to hide behind his chassis a little bit, try and make it a little bit more difficult for Artie if they got a shot at all, and they don't. You know, so I'm going to come up and I'm going to poke this corner over here, and lo and behold, right in front of me is a very, very dangerous light tank, but he's engaged with somebody else. And then there's a T-95. Now the T-95 is hull down. He's very difficult to hit. Now he could easily penetrate me with that 155 millimeter gun. I dunked the first shot, put the second shot into his cupola. He realizes that and he backs up. And then he moves forward, and then he goes behind that ridge over there. That puts him out of position to put any kind of flanking fire onto our tanks that are crossing the field. Okay? So I'm going to keep an eye on that corner. I'm also very watchful of where that light tank went. And he's over on my left flank, but they're getting annihilated by our team, who did a fantastic job in this game. Thank God it didn't come down to me, right? Okay? So I've got one round left in my clip. And do I want to reload? Well, I don't need to. And, you know, I'm just holding on to that one round because they're getting swamped over here. The enemy team is getting swamped by our team. And you can see they're just getting annihilated. The team I was on just did a fantastic job. And plus, on top of that, you have the great advantage as a defender on this map in the whole situation. The defender has all the advantages on this map. Unless the attacking team coordinates and communicates precisely and just so, and they really do a good job. Pretty much Zerg rushing one side, it's just not going to happen. When they're spread out like that, like peanut butter across bread, it's just not going to happen. And we end up winning. So that's the Foch, AMX Foch 50 120mm Tier 9 French tank destroyer. I highly suggest you work your way up to it. It's pretty fun. Until later, you guys be good to each other. Have a great day.